you are the co-founder of Guida, which
Exactly.
is an app specifically for the Muslim community to help them get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Inshallah,
Now,
inshallah.
tell us a bit about first how you got into technology.
Great question. So
Of course it is.
Would I expect anything else? Could it have been anything else?
Anything goes in this show. Alhamdulillah, bismillah.
Bismillah. So, long story short, I've been in tech now for almost a decade, very much in the world of startups, investment, and why did I get into tech? I believe it's the single best way, inshallah, to have impact at scale. At the end of the day, we've seen this happen with millions of companies. If you really want to reach as many people as you can at a global scale, I think tech is the way to do it. So that's what inspired me. That's why I got into tech in a nutshell.
Tell me about your influences in tech, because ultimately you get into tech because I suppose it's one of those career paths that as Muslims and people from the South Asian community, a lot of people get into technology. But what was it that you, I suppose, influenced your decision to go into technology, and what platforms or technologies out there really have made the most impact on you?
It's a great question. So
of course it is.
I'm going to get used to that now. So for me, I mean, to be honest, like before tech, my first love was really education. A lot of people believe education is what can change people's lives, and I started working in conventional education. So I was an advisor for universities, school groups, government agencies, working in policy, and I generally thought that was the way to make change. And frankly, I got pretty jaded pretty fast. I saw that, yes, there are lots of great people doing really great things, but as someone who's pretty impatient, I found it really frustrating that change was very slow.
I suppose it's limiting as well, because you can only influence the people in front of you, whereas tech really takes that to another level by enhancing and increasing that reach.
That's absolutely right, because like if you look at conventional education, whether it's schools, universities, or education providers, they have their impact and their reach. But if you look at education technology platforms, like the Coursera's, the Udemy's, the Duolingos of the world, they reach hundreds of millions of people, and that inspired me. So that was my single influence, if I had to pick one.
Why Guida? So tell us, talk us through that, because this is very specific. This is really a very important app, which is about how we can get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now we're approaching the beautiful month of Ramadan. That is the month of getting close to Allah.
Exactly.
But how is the app helping people? And I suppose maybe talk us through the process of how you got to the point of having the app itself.
Definitely. So, I mean, it probably helps to talk about my background for the last couple of years a bit. So, what I've been doing for the last 3 years is investing in very early stage education products, right? Last 3 years, 20 companies I've invested in. They've gone from 0 to 100 million in revenue. They've now got over 25 million people getting better access to education. And I realized that when it comes to education for Muslims, right, which is what this is all about, there isn't a single app out there that's actually world class. So that's why Guida came about. I realized that there are these mainstream education platforms reaching millions of people, giving better education. But for Muslims, there is not one high-quality education app. So that's why I came up with Guida. And I can go into like, why is it different to what exists? But for me, that's what we need. I believe we need a high-quality education app for Muslims that can enable millions of people to get closer to Allah, inshallah. So that's what it's about.
In order for you to have that success, and I suppose get to a point where you have an app, that requires seed funding, or it requires money to pay yourself, to be able to pay those people who are working on the app to, I suppose, build it from scratch. Did you find it difficult to go out there and get that seed investment or that seed funding? Is it something that was self-funded? Can you talk about some of those challenges that you faced?
Yeah, so alhamdulillah, I would say like in the early days when I first started working on Guida a few months ago, I did feel pretty apprehensive about funding. It is often a big challenge for so many founders. But alhamdulillah, like the good thing about this mission and vision is that it resonated with a lot of people pretty quickly. Like at the end of the day, education for Muslims is something that in the Muslim community we feel passionate about, we care about it. So I was fortunate that just from talking to a few key individuals, pitching the mission, talking about the opportunity and the problem, we pretty quickly got together our initial pre-seed round. Alhamdulillah, we actually closed our round at the end of last year. So overall, it was relatively easy to get there, alhamdulillah, but I know that's not the case a lot of the time, and often there are a lot of barriers in the way.